Who's got a cat?
That poor cat is just going crazy.
Yeah, that's Snowy.
Smelly cat.
Yeah.
That goes with your shirt.
It does. Yeah, for Valentine's Day, I got my wife a bag that said "crap bag" on it, and if you've seen Friends, you know what that alludes to. Oh my God, he broke his hair again. Hold on.
I think you might have to hold the cat the whole show.
Yeah, Dr. Evil. Yes.
Mr.
Yesterday I was sharpening live, and I was like getting really into it, and I was cleaning off a blade. My daughter came in here, and you can see from the top view just her hands coming up on top of my desk with a bag of popcorn and shaking it. Well, I'm just sitting here, I'm oblivious that she's there. And then someone has a comment says, "Open your daughter's snack already." I'm like, oh, hey, Kinsley. Here you go. So I get visitors in here sometimes. It's okay. They are part of the show.
Hey, genius, open her snack. That's hilarious. When my daughter comes in while I'm sharpening, it scares the hell out of me because I just worry she's going to like run her hand down the knife and I'll have to take her to the hospital and explain to my wife what happened. No, thank you. Well, everybody, thanks for joining tonight. I'm Jason. That's Tom. We're Finger Flicked and Box. We have a very special guest for the first time. We have Mr. Tyler Pipes from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. He has been a member of the group for, I don't know, 4 years now, a long time. Mm-hmm. And probably seen him pop in from time to time in the group. And this is a long overdue interview. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Let me my wife and ask her to come get the cat.
We have a new cat, everybody.
Yeah.
Group cat, club cat. What up, Greg?
Brian Roden, hope you're feeling better, buddy. Brian had to have valve replacement. It was a valve replacement in his heart. So I hope he's doing better. He sounded better. Brian, last time you did a video, you sounded better. You sounded like you had more pep. So
yeah, brother, get feeling better.
I don't think I could have heart surgery and then be posting and watching FFIB a couple days later. That's pretty tough.
He's a savage. He went live from the hospital.
I would have better things to do than worry about this knife group.
He was like, check out this Jello cup. I was like, what? So I'm glad Tyler's here tonight because if you guys don't know, Smoky Mountain Knife Works is probably the largest knife store in the world. If I had to guess, in terms of square footage, you certainly are. But in terms of revenue, I bet you are as well. And I've been to your business 3-4 times now. Mm-hmm. And it is shocking how much fun you can have in that place. And it's to give you guys a feel for it. It's probably what 5 times bigger than a Home Depot, and it's probably bigger than a Field and Stream or a Cabela's. Is that about right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 108,000 square feet, and it's 3 stories.
It feels bigger than 108,000. It feels like it. Well, I can tell you for sure, it's 4 hours long. If you casually browse, it's 4 hours. It's a long time. So if you guys go to the Smoky Mountains, you were going to want to drop the wife off somewhere else, maybe send her to Pigeon Forge or something. You're going to want to go there and you want to spend 4 or 5 hours because it'll take you that long to see everything. It is quite the destination.
Yeah. So it's, funny thing about it is that, number one rule in retail is location. And our stores are within a 12-hour drive of 72% of the U.S. population. And not a lot of people realize that. And also the number one most visited national park in the entire United States is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It gets 12 million visitors a year. And the number 2 most visited national park is the Grand Canyon, and it gets 5 million visitors. So
I bet 11.8 of those 12 drive by your building.
I gotta get this cat. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry.
What's happened to that poor cat off screen?
He's gonna come back covered in something.
No, I'm just gonna have to hold it till my wife gets here.
Scoot,
anyway,
kitty.
Do what?
Scoot, kitty.
Yeah, no joke. But as far as like the foot traffic, like not a lot of people realize, we get close to 2 million visitors there a year. And, and that, not trying just to brag, but I mean, it is it's a destination store. I mean, there's similar stores, kind of like it. Like everyone's got their own niche. Like Kittery Trading Post up in Maine is a good example. They're another good outdoor retail shop. But it's one of the few things that our biggest claim to fame is that we carry in stock every knife by every major manufacturer pretty much in existence. I mean, if you name a brand, we probably carry it, and it's in stock at the store. It's one of the few places you can go and say, "Hey, I want to go see a McNeese custom knife." Okay, well, I want to go see a Case Trapper knife, or I want to go see the new Benchmade bug out that just dropped this week. You can see all those, and you can hold them all within 30 feet of each other. It's one of the few places we do, and we pride ourselves on it. But I mean, it's not exactly the most cost effective because we have over 100 folks that work in our retail store right now. So, but that's got its own pluses and minuses because in today's retail world, you got so many people going to clam packaging and putting stuff out, on an A-frame, and there's no one that knows about blade steel. There's no one that knows about, opening mechanisms. What's the difference between a slip joint and an axis lock? You can't really get that from packaging, but manufacturers keep trying every day to do that through packaging. But at the end of the day, I mean, we try as much as we can to get good folks that have good product knowledge and can articulate, why is this knife with 440 steel, a good knife, but this knife over here with, S35V, why is it so much better? Because you get a lot of people that don't really know steels like we know steels. They don't, understand, the heat treat or adding chromium to make a stainless steel blade stainless. They don't realize that.
Yeah.
But and it's that extra step that we have with having people behind the counters to talk to you about the product that really makes us different, and differentiates us from not only other retailers, but like the Amazons, the Walmarts, and other online folks, because online stores are great, but at the end of the day, you can't live chat with a person. So
it happens a lot where I'll talk to another knife store and they will tell me that customers contact them all the time and they'll say, I bought this knife and I got it. And once I held it, it wasn't what I wanted. Can I return it? And there's just no substitute for touching it. I think there's a lot of people out there that can read about knives and you can look at photos. To me, I've always found the photos to be misleading. You don't know how big it's going to be in your hand until you hold it. So to be able to go somewhere and literally see a whole line, it's pretty cool. The Spyderco case is enormous. I think it might be 4 glass cabinets long, and
I think
is it 4 or 5?
Well, it's literally every product that they carry, but if you add, I think it's.
So it's only half colored Delicas, only half.
Yeah. Well, we got some of our custom shop stuff in there too. So like we've got stuff like this one, and we don't put a lot of the stuff online, which we should, but we try to keep some of it, like in store only. But like this is one of our titanium frames, which we've just dip anodized in house. And I told my guys, hey, put some cool Bolon Lave stuff on it. So they did. So we kind of did a 2-tone lasering on it.
Oh, nice.
I've had some of your metal scales for PM2s, and they're really comfortable. The chamfering is nice, so they're soft in the hand, and they're the price point's excellent. Yeah,
and then too, I mean, we tried to do some different stuff right back when that whole metal craze was going on. Like we had some copper handles, titanium, brass, and then people anodize stuff bronze all the time. So I actually went to the factory and I had like legit bronze metal handle scales made, and they already had the patina that brass would get, and they had the weight too of copper, but man, nobody did anything with them. Like I was shocked. Like I was thinking like, man, this is gonna be like the next great thing. And then like people are just, I mean, we sold a few of them, but not as much as I thought we would.
These trends come and go quickly, and the Copper and Copper Shipwreck came hard and then it disappeared. It's pretty funny.
Copper came hard, and then all of a sudden it was like 3 weeks later, like, did you guys know this stuff patinas? It changes colors.
Heavy.
Can't touch it.
Heavy.
Well, it's like I found Fat Carbon. Funny thing was I found Fat Carbon. It's either a year and a half or close to 2 years before we had our Spyderco exclusive. And I tried like hell to get so many different manufacturers to make stuff with that. But they were like, well, this guy's out of Lithuania. We don't, it's a new vendor out of Lithuania. We don't know how to communicate with them. I'm like, man, they've got email over there. It's not third world country. It's not like you're talking to the, the Western Soviet Union or anything. I mean, but anyway, but we got that stuff in with Spyderco, and I thought it'd have a lot more staying power because we ordered it. We got some. We had Spyderco. We did some MKM exclusives. I got Case because they owed me for a couple of things, but I got them to do their new Marilla knife in Magna Cut in Fat Carbon at Blade Show. It was a year and a half ago. So the second to last Blade Show. And the guys at ZT were so pissed and flabbergasted because how in the hell did Case beat us with the new hot handle material and the new hot steel? Like those, like the Papaw brand. How in the hell did they do that? Pat O'Donnell, one of the two VPs for Kershaw, was so pissed. And I was like, well, brother, that's because I pushed him to do it. But I love you though. But it was kind of funny to see those guys come out with that first. But no, it was. And then now it's dyed. It's like Fat Carbon's irrelevant. It's so cool looking and it's so different. And, I mean, the color variation they can do with it is so much more unique because literally it's like Damascus, like no two knife handles are the same. Yeah. And so I think, Tom, you've even done some videos, I think, where you've taken different grits of sandpaper to make them sheen and do that. And see, that's something else you could do. But you see materials like Ultim, for example, that come out, it cracks around the screws and it's looks like pee and or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's not that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it. But then again, that's why they make, Ben and Jerry's makes, over 50 flavors of ice cream. So
that's right. Your friend's back.
I have a lot of Fat Carbon scales from that are custom made ones, and it's a beautiful material. It's really cool when you shine it up. Yeah, that's how fickle this hobby is. Like, so when I had these made by Aramis, this is made of Fat Carbon.
Yeah.
I thought this was the coolest shit in the world, and then like a year later, this raindrop Damascus, you can get it from China, you can get it from anywhere. It's just like stuff catches on, and it catches on fast.
Yeah. I'm going to go put the cat in this crate real quick. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a second. Technical difficulties.
No worries. All right.
We did a whole show once with Scott from Gunny Glide, and his mic didn't work. That was fun.
We tried to do a show with Scott from Gunny Glide.
He was pantomiming while we were discussing his product, and he's nodding, and his daughter was trying to tech support. That was.
Then I remember it got quiet, but you could visually see like this man is angry at his computer right now.
And then we had a guy that was blackout drunk. He's now a double manslaughter guy. We don't want to talk about him.
Yeah. Details.
So tell us a little bit about the history of Smoky Mountain.
Yes.
I know it's been around quite a while. It's not a new company.
Correct. Yeah. So my dad started in 1978, and at the time, my dad was selling real estate. And when he was going around shop to shop, different places trying to sell, commercial and residential properties, he would drive these clients around, and he could never, he figured that if he couldn't sell a piece of property, he would, at least sell a pocket knife just so he could at least, make the money back. So. Whew.
This all started as a side hustle.
Do what?
This all started as a side hustle?
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah. And so he and his business partner John Parker, they opened up a museum, and this was all in the early '70s. So they were doing this museum thing at the old mill in Pigeon Forge, and it was going okay, but they really weren't making any money. And he was trying to figure out, okay, talking to his business partner John, was like, what do we do? And his brother Jim Parker, who was in the knife business and actually later became so successful, he actually bought Case Knives, and he was the guy. He owned it for a couple of years in 1990, 1991. He told my dad and his brothers, like, you guys need to sell pocket knives in your store. And my dad, famous last words were, I don't think anybody wants to buy pocket knives out of a store. And that was before he was even doing the real estate part. But
right.
Yeah, so it was pretty, he never really meant to get into the knife business, and it's just kind of funny, or serendipitous how these things happen. But yeah, it's it sort of just grew from there. So after we turned the store, we switched it from the Smoky Mountain Relic Room, then it became the Smoky Mountain Relic Room and Knife Shop, and then it just became a knife stop as Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And it's been in 4 different retail locations, and from Pigeon Forge, 2 in Sevierville, to now it's in its 4th and final location. And hopefully, hopefully I don't have to build another one and move it, because that would just be a nightmare. I really don't want to try to replicate that in a different place. So yeah, but it's like I said, it's 4 stories, 108,000 square feet. After we got into the retail side, my dad, he was like, we can, we've got enough inventory, let's start up a catalog. So he would go down and cut by hand. He went down to the Sevier County local newspaper, and he would go in there and cut by hand out pictures of knives from catalogs from manufacturers, and he would hand put them, in place. And then he would print out, they had this one of those early computers, they would print out all the text that was beneath it. So they would print on newspaper print the first catalogs that we ever did. And he was just jerry rigging it, trying to figure out a way to make it work. And that's how we started. So we were doing that, I think it was 81, 82. So, we were one of the first companies to be mail order direct catalogs to consumers.
What were the kind of knives back then? Like, I always think it's interesting looking back at the Spyderco catalog and how stuff.
You there?
Yeah.
Oh, you froze up, Tom. Say that again.
What were the knives like back then? Like, what were you guys selling? What was he cutting out pictures of? Like, what was like?
Case trappers, Buck 110. There were some brands that existed then that don't exist now, like Parker Cutlery. That was Jim Parker had his own brand. Then there was Bokers were big. Kiss and Crane was huge. German Eye. Our brand and our following's always been traditional slip joint knives. So yeah, it was most of that. Buck 110 was, all Buck knives were always popular. But yeah, it was mostly stuff like that. There really wasn't any like true tactical knives. I mean, there was like some K-bar type stuff, but that was really about it when it came to tactical things.
Just so everybody's clear, everything that's a folder that's not a slip joint is generally referred to as a tactical knife in the industry. So that would include a Delica, that would include a Pochi, that would include like all the Spydercos that you have in your drawer. Those are probably considered tactical in the knife world. Now, you and I know that Delica is not very tactical, but that's what they call it. So the origins here, we're talking slip joints, old granddad knives.
The first time I heard someone call a knife a tactical knife when I was handling a Spyderco, I felt like kind of offended. I'm like, what? This isn't like, I'm not like some kind of street ninja. No, it's everything. That's the way knife shows call it. That's like if you go to Blade Show, the best tactical knife or whatever is just folder.
Right. No, Tyler, you guys, when I walk your building, it's as much a museum as it is a store.
Yes.
So it sounds like you took the Pigeon Forge museum location and you moved it into the store. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely say that. So, my dad's big thing is always, you got to tell a story, which is true. And you got to tell, like with every knife, you got to tell a story. And the same thing about our store, you got to tell a story about our industry. And there's really no retail stores don't do that anymore. A lot of the older like farm shops used to have like old farmery, old farm equipment and stuff around. But when you walk into Smoky Mountain Knife Works, you'll see, there's like one of the best, finest displays is that we got it's probably a manufacturer no one's ever heard of called the Herder's Knife Company out of Solingen, Germany. And it was at one point the oldest knife company in the world. It was around for about 400 years. And in the late 80s, they went out of business. And they, when it closed down, my dad and Phil Martin, who's the owner of Blue Ridge Knives, which I'm sure a lot of folks may or may not know, that is, they're probably the largest knife-only distributor in the U.S. And they both went together to Germany. They flew over there and they just went basically through that whole factory and went room by room. And, the auction was, they'd open the door, here's this room, what do you give me for it? Sort of a thing. And it could be whip work in progress. It could be handle slabs. It could be fully done knives. You didn't know. And then half the time you didn't know because all you could, you're just guessing at what was in there. So they went over there and then they also bought the entire factory collection, a collection of knives that's over 400 years old. And we've got them on display in the store. So when you're going in, the main part of the store, when you go down the stairs by the water wheel, all those knives, some of them are over 400 years old, but all that stuff is on display behind glass. And not only that too, we've got old like 100 years ago or 120 years ago, even beyond, what folks would do to get their knives sharpened before the Tom Moore sharpening service over here was available. You'd have guys with street carts, and it was just a two-hand cart like a wheelbarrow, but it had a platform that they would hand crank and turn knife sharpeners on. They would go down the street hand sharpening knives. They'd visit different homes, different businesses, and they'd sharpen. We've got several of those in our upstairs clothing area that you can see. And there's stuff like that. I mean, there's stuff like that throughout the whole store. We've got old letters from wholesalers to dealers, that are over 100 years old. Some of them, we're trying to get, we're getting some specialized glass from display frames because the ink is starting to fade. They're so old. But when you go through the store, we've got some of the old Schrade USA factory collection in there, some of the Case factory collection in there. And we had to close up our customer lounge, unfortunately, where there was probably one of the more impressive areas of historical stuff up there. We just got to find a different place to put that. But what happened there was some guy came in who was a professional ADA non-compliant sewer guy. He came in and he sued us and 15 other businesses in Knoxville for not being fully ADA compliant because we didn't have an elevator that went up to that area. We got sued. And our handrails were 35 inches and not 36 inches and a whole bunch of other, things. So that's why that got closed down, was because there's no way to put an elevator in there because there's no room to make it. So all that building was built pre a lot of the ADA laws. So we've had to shut that down just because there's simply no way to put an elevator over there. So we've been trying the last couple of years to figure out, how do we display this stuff? But Jason, as I'm sure you can attest to, there's not a lot of room in the store left to put stuff. But, and I almost forgot too, the part of that Herder's knife collection and that factory that gets missed a lot. So in the 1800s, how that factory ran was it used hydropower, not hydroelectric, just hydropower to run all of their grinders on their water wheel. So, and Jason, I can't remember if I showed this to you and Scott when you all came down, but we've got Dad bought it, all the equipment and stuff, and then flew it and the guys from Germany to put it back together inside Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So if you go into the basement of the store, you'll see a water wheel turning with a bunch of giant belts that look like the largest sanding hafting belts you've ever seen. And what it is it's where we've reset up, because that factory used to run on, they had a dam close by for one of the streams, and the stream would turn the water wheel would turn the belts, and that's how they would run a lot of their equipment and all their sanding and their grinders and stuff off that hydroelectric power. And we've got it all set up, and it runs right now inside Smoky Mountain Knife Works. You can go see how they made, how the Herder's factory made knives in the 1800s in our store right now. So
I've walked the building a few times, but then the last time I was there, I actually had a tour guide, and having the tour guide was even better, because there was so much that I had missed. And like, a guided tour is really, I don't know, if you guys go and you want to take it in, I would ask for one, or see if there's one that's set up.
Yeah, we got to pay that guy more.
Yeah. It really helped out, because there's all kinds of things that I missed that I didn't even appreciate as I walked by it.
Yeah. Well, and it's so much to look at, and that's kind of the point of everything. It's also why we don't have lots of clocks in there, because you kind of get lost in there, and you don't, there's always something else to see. And then we try to change up the product offerings, and we try to keep all the brands in the same spots, but with everybody wanting to outdo the other in the same building, it's kind of hard. Like Spyderco most recently, we, well, I guess that was about 2 years ago now. We really updid that section, which Jason, you saw when you came down. It's a pretty impressive display, and I wish I had a picture of it here to show everybody. But it is truly one of the only places you can go and hold in your hand every knife from every manufacturer in the knife business in your hand that day, as long as it's in stock. So, I mean, there's very few brands that we don't carry. And I'm always saying, hey, if it's for sale and it's a knife, send me a price list and let's talk. So, because you can't claim to be the world's largest store without having the world's largest variety. And then, but the other side of that coin is that we get a lot of, negative comments, because a lot of folks will say, well, that's, it's a mall ninja shop. There's all kinds of China stuff. And I'm like, well, have you all seen the amount of knives in the knife industry that are made that way? If you look at, Benchmade only makes so many knives, Spyderco only makes so many knives, but there's just, a ton of that import stuff. And yeah, we carry everything from everybody. And that's why there's so much of that stuff, because a large part of the industry is that. And not a lot of people realize what a percentage of the industry is imported stuff. But there's some good importers and there's some not good importers. Like we, for example, and Civivi and Kaiser, I mean, those are three good examples of some very well-made, high-quality imported stuff. Boker in its way is, high-quality import stuff. Even Condor to an extent makes some really good stuff for the price that it is.
We all get in our niche trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tyler, can you try turning down the volume on your laptop a little bit?
There's a button that's on the settings that's echo cancellation. That might work.
I think we need to fix that. At the bottom, you see a little gear. Go in settings. Look for echo cancellation.
Audio. Clicked on.
Okay.
Should I unclick it?
No.
I hazard a guess.
We get in our little worlds, I think. Like, so we all think that Spyderco is like the only fucking brand there is. Like, Benchmade, whatever. Well, I live in Portland. People could give two shits about Spyderco here. Everyone talks about ZT, Kershaw, CRKT, Benchmade, because they're all made in this town. So when you start to realize that there's we may have a very special community, but there's that for a lot of things. And before I got into Spyderco, I spent 10 years buying everything off Amazon. And I spent a lot of money buying just whatever imported knives off of Amazon. So that's a big part of just getting into the hobby, is having something that's easily accessible as an entry point.
I've been through your Mall Ninja section, and the people in there are delighted. They're delighted to see all those knives. They're delighted that if they've got $100 in their pocket, they might be able to walk out with several knives, right?
Yeah.
You have
And,
a lot of value in there, and people love it. And then why would you not offer that? There's a customer that's interested in it. They want to buy it. So it's really cool to walk it. And if you don't want it, keep moving. There's more knives to see. There's more.
Yeah, we got every Spyderco, every Benchmade, every Gerber. I mean, every Microtech. I mean, you name it, we've got it. You know. But like to Tom's point, we get a lot of guys who are really wanting to get into this hobby, and I like to embrace those guys. But a lot of them, they say, hey, what's a good value brand that I can collect that I won't go broke on? And one of our in-house brands is that. It's called Rough Rider Knives. Now it's a traditional slip joint knife, but it's got we run it this very similar to Case in the way that we have 6 or 7 different traditional slip joint patterns that they're different patterns, but all have the same handle material. They all have the same unique box designs or the tin designs, and we kind of theme them up, kind of tell a story with them too. So that gives someone to collect like a little series, and they may range anywhere from $14 to $19, but a guy can buy 5 knives for $100 and have a whole series. And he's got the whole series in his collection, and he didn't spend about $100 on it. So, but if you want to come and buy a $400 Spyderco, hey, we've got you.
Absolutely. So Tyler, since you've been in the group, I hope that you're
I'm more of a lurker.
You're a lurker.
Yeah.
True. I wonder how has your experience in the community impacted your Spyderco purchasing or your ordering or anything like that? Is it you and I have a lot of conversations about what's hot right now, what are people talking about, and I know you watch it. So has it had an impact on the way you think about that part of your business?
Yes and no. So I'm trying to figure out what answer are you looking for. So like when you say now that I'm in, so I'm actually I'm a knife junkie, and it's kind of weird because I'm the one that likes knives the most, even more than my dad. My brother, if you met my brother, we're kind of completely different. But I really get into, and I'm really excited to see new steels, especially new handle materials, because that's really where everything's at. But how it affects my buying ability, I mean, my problem is if I like it too much, then probably nobody wants it. But so I'm kind of the worst thing is to be a knifeaholic and then work at a knife store or buy for a knife store, because I tend to think that some stuff's going to be a bit bigger deal than it's going to be sometimes, but not all the time. That's why I've got a good group of guys who we kind of pull our thoughts together, and that's how we tend to if we're going to make big purchases or do an exclusive, that's how we that's how we try to make a decision. But no, I mean, I really am. I'm a knife junkie and I'm a knife lover. I think that's, and that, I even like being in all these groups. So like you said, I've been in in this group for years, and I've been in a whole bunch of other, I think I'm in 30 or 40 different Facebook groups, and some of them I'm more active in than others. But, too, I also use it as a tool to monitor, hey, are people talking about Smoky Mountain Knife Works? So they're talking about other businesses, in the knife community, then I could, and then plus too, I mean, I use it as a great way to get, negative feedback. Because if I see, people out there in the community saying hey, Smoky Mountain Knife Works are taking a lot longer to ship these days, what's going on? Then I can say, hey, there's something going on here, and I go and I look into it. So, and I learn way more from negative feedback than I do from positive feedback.
You
If someone
you have the biggest balls of the post you put up looking for all the negative feedback. You're like,
I need to do that again,
to just roast me.
Yeah. No, well, it's true though. I mean, because here's the thing is that I want Smoky Mountain Knife Works to be the best knife store in the industry. And I have got nothing but respect for so many people out here. So many other knife guys, like Mike Kent, from REC. I've met him a couple of times. Good dude. I've met Jeff from Cutlery Shop. I've met, oh gosh, I've met the Blade HQ guys. I have not met the Knife Center guys. I know, what's his name from St. Nick's Knives?
Dylan? Which one else?
No, the owner.
I can't remember his name. He's in the group. I can't remember.
Greg? Is his name Greg?
Greg.
I think that's his dad. I'm talking about the son.
Okay. I don't remember.
Anyway, but yeah. But, you know, I mean, mad respect to all those guys. But, you know, the cool thing about, I guess, like me as a business guy, the thing about businesses that I love the most is like it's sort of, and I don't mean to the way this sounds, but it's kind of like, you know, like it's a game in a way, because there's always, it's like chess, because there's always another move to be played. There's always someone playing against you. There's always one more thing you could do. There's always something else. There's another move to be made. The game is always on, and there's always one more thing you could be doing better. And to me, I live and thrive off that. That's why, you know, I don't care at all to come in and say, hey, you know, tell me about your experience smoking Monkey Mountain Knife Works. Positive, negative, I want to hear it all, because you can't be the best you can be without going through adversity. You know, not to use a knife cliche, but, you know, you got to, you know, test your metal, so to speak, before you know what it's worth. So, you know, in Smoky Mountain Knife Works, you know, the good and the bad thing is it's great. We've been around for 45 years, but it's also, you know, it's hard to turn a battleship. And, you know, my dad, when he retired a couple of years ago, and, you know, put me, you know, he basically promoted me to CEO and president, and, you know, now he's off, you know, literally enjoying retirement. And it's hard to turn a battleship, and hard to get folks to think critically and in different ways, think outside the box. And, you know, I challenge them, you know, like, hey, you know, like I try to create, you know, a workplace environment of just complete total candor. Shoot to me straight, because I'm busy, you're busy, no one's got time for bullshit. You know, just shoot me straight. I'm not going to get mad. I just, you know, I can't fix a situation unless I know what's going on, or I can't make a decision about something unless I have all the facts.
Right.
So, you know, but, and this is a really long answer to your question, Jason, but, you know, I'm a knife lover. I'm a knife guy. I grew up with it. You know, I remember one of my first knives I ever got was one of those United Cutlery, like fixed blade blues. And my dad went out and he doled the shit out of it before he gave it to me, because he knew I cut myself with it. But, and I thought I was clever as shit too, because he went and he's, you know, little did he know that it came with a knife sharpener in the handle. So it was one of those. So I was out there, you know, I think I was like 6 or 7 years old trying to, you know, sharpen it back. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I thought I was, you know, like, I'll show him, you know. But no, I've been a knife lover from way back. And yeah, I mean, my problem is that I want to buy everything all the time. And yeah, that tends to, you know, work out good or work out bad. It just depends. I think one of the things I get razzed about a lot as far as buying was that my crew tends to call me Captain Tomahawk sometimes, because there was one time I bought, I was talking to, this was back when I was our SOG buyer. This was, 10 years ago. And their VP, Scott Sherwood, and I were pretty good buddies, you know, because you always got to make friends with the guy that makes the decisions. And he, you know, and I always called him up at the end of the month, and because I figured they always had a number they had hit, and then especially at the end of the quarter, because then they always really had a number they had hit. So I called him up at the end of December, and said, "Hey, Scott, how's it going?" I said, "You know, is there any deals and stuff you're hung with, or anything that you need rid of?" And he had told me that Walmart had canceled an order because they couldn't get it to him all the time. So they were stuck with 50,000 SOG F01 Tomahawks. And I was paying $21 for them at the time. And then we were retailing for $29.99. So I bought all 50,000 Tomahawks from him for $9 a piece. And we sold them for $19.99, and it took us 2 years to go through them, but we made killing off of them. We're selling $2,000 and $3,000 a month, and
you made $500,000 selling tomahawks. It cost you $500,000 in capital, but you made $500,000 selling them.
Oh yeah, but they showed up at the warehouse because it was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 tractor trailer loads. Everyone's like, my dad came out, what the fuck did you buy? And I'm like, they're cheap. I promise they'll sell. So, but 50,000 tomahawks. That was
feeding your kids with tomahawks. Take them to school, pass them out to your friends.
Yeah. Tomahawks. It's like, I was like, Oprah, you get a tomahawk, everybody gets a tomahawk. Yeah. So so it's kind of, that's the running joke, Captain Tomahawk. So.
Oh, that's so funny.
But we sold the shit out of them. So.
We got a good question here from one of the viewers over on YouTube. He says, do you feel a sense of competitiveness when it comes to putting out cool exclusives compared to the other big dealers?
Absolutely. I mean, not to sound arrogant or anything, but I think that we all like to try to one up each other. But my problem is I think like, oh man, that's cool. Like, look at what these guys did. That's really cool. I want to do something better. But see, like my thing is that, I'm competitive, but I appreciate everything that, that all my competitors do. Like I don't have, I think Jason, you've seen this because you introduced me to the REC guys. I don't have a negative competitive attitude towards anybody except one dealer. There's one guy I don't like, but it's all on him. And I'm not going to say who it is, but it's just because he was a bit of a douche to me out of no reason at all on my part. I was trying to be nice and friendly, but whatever. But no, I mean, I really like seeing other people do creative things in the industry. And here's why. It's because it grows the industry. It makes the industry more cool. The more cool you can make knives, the more people will want to get into this crazy wild hobby that we all love. And you can tell I love this stuff. But the more, that's why like the Forged and Fire guys, like I have those guys out to the store anytime they want to come because that TV show did great things for the industry. Now I know we're all not out there making custom knives, but man, it got a ton of people into the knife industry. And it's like I hate to use the term gateway drug, but it's sort of, they see all this cool stuff in custom knives and they get into, regular EDC stuff and just sort of takes off from there. But anything we can do to grow the industry, I'm all for it. I think exclusives is definitely a really cool thing to do to get into that. But am I competitive? Sure. I always want to, one up my competition. I don't think there's anybody in business that doesn't want to one up the next guy. But at the same time too, I still appreciate the creativeness. I don't know, not to sound like a cliche or anything, but it's like, one artist appreciating another artist's work. Like, hey, that's really cool. What else?
Yeah. It really is a case of the rising tide lifting all ships, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As you guys turn inventory and as you are able to reorder it helps the manufacturers. As the manufacturers are in a better position, then they're more open to things like customs and exclusives and one-offs. And then you can flip those and everybody makes money and everybody gets a knife that's cool and awesome. That's unique. So it really fuels itself.
One thing that's a really bummer to me is when people have the opposite attitude of you. And when they think like, I'm so glad Cutlery Shop is sitting on all these orange knives right now and I hate orange or whatever. People that get like bitter about knives being in stock sometimes. And I don't understand why. I want every dealer to sell all their knives. So like you say, the industry keeps on growing and Spyderco has the balls to go, let's experiment with something really wacky because we're going to be able to sell it instead of like, let's just do a black G10 because that's what we do. Yeah.
Well, it's like when Fat Carbon came out, I was like, man, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And man, it comes in different colors. We can do different hues. And then that stuff, it went like this and then it went straight back down. And I was just shocked that didn't have more staying power. But and now I'm off to the next thing. Like, I went to at SHOT, they've got the supplier showcase and I always fly in a day early to SHOT and I spend literally a whole day there in this one room at SHOT Show, which they only do that part the first couple of days, but it's literally every handle material supplier. And it's where all the manufacturers go to get all their stuff. There's so much stuff in there. Like you could probably go to every different booth. You could build anything you wanted to without having to buy the first piece of tooling because everything's in there. Like I was joking with Josh, my COO. I was like, I could walk through here, build a knife, an AR-15, and a 1911, and not have to buy any tool, and it can be completely unique and custom. That's all what these people do. So, but yeah, to your point, rising tide, raises all ships. So, I think more and more people that do more exclusives, hopefully the more new people will want to get into the industry, and more customers more new customers it will bring in.
Spyderco exclusives really do work I only know this little niche of the industry, so I know my friends and what kind of knives they like, and obviously it's a much bigger industry than that. But for me, from being a Spyderco junkie for the last, 7-8 years, that's how I learned about dealers. That's how I learned about Safe and Lock Store. That's how I learned about River's Edge Cutlery, is because they introduced a Spyderco exclusive. And it took someone I never would have bought a knife for to right in my face with something I can't say no to. And it really does work out. If that's Spyderco's intention, is to help their dealer network, that does help by getting people exclusives.
Yeah. And, the funny thing about Spyderco Smoky Mountain Knife Works, that for whatever reason, when, I think it was like 10 years ago when I was promoted to COO, my dad challenged me to grow the business, and I was looking at every brand and, every brand that we carried. And for whatever reason, Spyderco was one of our lowest performing brands as far as total sales. And I was like, I can't understand this. We'd always bought it through distribution because it was 2 or 3 percentage points cheaper than buying it direct. And I was like, well, but we were always out of stock on it. And I was like, well, so 1 or 2 points be damned. You can't make money off the empty shelf. So we started buying it direct, and it just took off. I think now we're doing 20 times the sales of what we were going through distribution. And that's when we started doing the exclusives. And it literally should be a crime that we haven't always been doing the numbers we've been doing and having the relationship that we have now with Spyderco years ago. Because I grew up on stories of my dad and Phil Martin, pulling pranks and stuff. I'll tell this story. So Sal Glesser and my dad and Phil Martin, they started this brand of knives called United Cutlery. This was back in the 80s. And they would all go to Japan, to the Mitsubishi factory, to buy, because at the time, that's where a lot of the good quality but inexpensive knives were being made. And the guy's name was Yuhei Sakai, and they all would buy from this guy at this factory, and he would do contract manufacturing for Spyderco, for a whole bunch of people, and for us at United. And Sal, even then was still, he always had to have the newest steel, something different, cutting edge, all that sort of thing. So Yuhei Sakai told my dad's he's got Sal coming in 3 weeks after they leave. So Dad thought it would be hilarious to play a prank on Sal. So they ordered a knife with a steel called U2X steel. There is no such steel as U2X steel, but they had Yuhei put it on the knife to try to prank Sal. And sure enough, Sal took the bait, and he was like, Dad told you, he's like, yeah, tell him it's a special secret formula that, we came up with, and it's going to be the next greatest thing. It was pretty much like an early Magna cut, if you will. It's supposed to all this stuff. So, but it was just 440 steel. But yeah, apparently Sal lost his shit trying to figure out what's in U2X, how do I get it made, where can I get it? I want to get my own steel made. And it was just sort of a running joke between Dad, Phil Martin, and Sal, because Sal found out about it like 6 months later. He goes, I can't believe you guys did that to me. And because he was trying to figure out how to get it. But yeah, I wish we'd have done more with them years ago, because then we'd have been, we wouldn't be behind the 8 ball as far as exclusives go, because, there's so many people have done such a good job with different exclusive with Spyderco. I mean, the slits buoy, Chris Miller has done a really good job with that. And that's, there's a case of me being jealous, hats off to Chris. And, Chris is, he's actually been in the store a couple of times. If no one's met him, he's definitely always the tallest guy in the room.
Right.
But yeah, he brought his wife and his daughter in, and I gave them a little bit of a nickel tour and stuff. But they're good people. But yeah, I would, I've even been known to buy a few exclusives on my end, just because I'm a little bit of a collector. But no, that's another cool one that I think, man, that's going to be. Did they change up the lock to this one? Okay, so that's the old one. Is that the new one?
This is the
That's the new one.
Okay, did they do a compression lock or what's different?
There's a lock bar insert right there. It's got a silver tab. So there's a lock bar insert and an over travel stop, which is like everyone's like, the Bowie's okay, but it didn't have a lock bar insert. So they fixed people's only complaint about it and they put that in.
Gotcha. Okay. See, that's cool. I'm jealous. You got one I know.
It's coming out on the 29th.
Yeah, no, that's cool though.
So you before we started the show, Tyler, you said that you do have a Spyderco exclusive coming in the spring, and I don't want to give away too much, but we do have some Spyderco nuts listening, and I think you guys are going to want it because I heard what the details are about it, and I happen to know it's a particularly popular model. So
it is, and they haven't released that many. There's been, I think there might have been a couple, but they haven't released a variant in a good while. So it's due for an exclusive variant, and yes, it's more popular, and hopefully they can get it out spring. So, spring here or spring in South Africa, but one of the two springs. So.
Hey guys, don't encourage Tom with his hoodies. It's a real problem. We're trying to manage this the best we can, and I'm losing the battle, but don't encourage him.
I haven't checked the website to see
it's like Beanie
what's
Babies
in stock, but I do know you guys went a little crazy Black Friday. I don't know if you guys restocked from blowing out like everything yet, because a lot of stuff went out of stock Black Friday. You guys kick some stuff out the door.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about hoodies still.
Oh, no. You guys cleared a lot of Spydercos out for just insanely good prices when they had that map holiday.
Yes. Yeah, we did. And then some stuff got put on pre-order, which wasn't supposed to get put on, but we honored that stuff. And then apparently while I was out of town, I've only been in the office like one day the last 2 weeks. We had a new warehouse manager, thought he was doing a good job in cleaning up old orders, and just went and canceled a bunch of stuff without checking with anyone to see if stuff was going to come in. So that caused a few headaches, which I saw a couple of posts in the group about, which I've addressed. But yeah, I'm finally going to be back in the office on Monday and looking at solutions to try to make that situation right and reinstate those orders. But again, I'm trying to, apparently it's you can't just, put crap back in the horse from a computer standpoint. You can't just add an order back. So bear with me while we get that figured out, but there's going to be a solution in place.
Yeah, that's a real nightmare. You got to crawl in, your data people are going to have to crawl into your accounting software to make sure that all the money was actually refunded. And then they're going to have to probably recreate all the orders, and that's something that will probably either
we're going to have to contact the customers and make sure they still want it too, because we don't keep folks' credit cards info, so we just got to call them back and then go through all that. But yeah, that's going to be again, we got to it's just the new guy was trying to go above and beyond and didn't ask, and was trying to why I appreciate the go-getter attitude, but it's like, damn, you fucked up.
Let me guess. These were based on the Spyderco 2023 prices, and now that your computer has 24 prices in it, it's even different?
No, it wasn't that. It was the fact that the stuff was ordered, but those had been on order since Black Friday, and that was a 2023 order. And, warehouse manager, he's in charge of all our orders. He just saw old orders sitting out there, and he didn't know, so he just canceled them. It had nothing to do with pricing. It just had everything to do with they were just an old order, an old date, and he didn't contact our our buyer for Spyderco to say, hey, when are these coming in? What's the estimated date of arrival? So when I saw that, I inquired, and anyway, come to find out the guy was trying to be a go-getter, but in the wrong way. So it was sort of like, I mean, it was a fuck up, but it was a fuck up. We're going to own it.
No one died.
Make it right. So
no one died.
Yeah, no one died, but we're going to own it, but we're going to make it right too. So just
I know you will.
That's what I do like about this industry is every dealer fucks up.
Yep.
Everyone freaks out and then loses focus on like, it's just a knife. I know you're very emotionally wrapped up in it, but it will be okay. Everyone fucks up.
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
It will be okay.
Yeah, you guys had an M4 PM2 for $140, which is insane.
Yes.
That was an extraordinarily good knife for that price. And I know lots of people that collected every color, and they're real proud of them because they're beautiful. Yeah,
no, that was a smoking deal. We could have, kept them up at, I think they were retailing us for like right at 200 or 199 for like the longest time. And we could have kept them there, but, I know that a lot of folks were hurting for a deal. We were trying to make a splash with a flash sale. And so it was good to see a lot of folks pick those up because, that way, like we talked about earlier, someone who may not could afford a $200 knife, maybe got the chance to get something. And then, hey, now I've got a Smoky exclusive and, now I've got, something cool and different for, not exactly, the $200 price.
MJ got himself a green fat carbon.
Yeah. I think the red fat carbon is my favorite out of all that, the lava flow.
It is. It takes a polish.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, that one's my favorite. And we tried to do some different some thicker handle stuff, but once it looks good flat, but once it gets pretty concave, once you round it up, it doesn't look as good. But you could do other things like Tom, like what you did when you were taking the really fine grit sandpaper and giving it that extra shine. Now that looked great, but it's and also they've got a problem with making it too thick. Like apparently fat carbon, it's really bad for having pockets in it. So when they go to like half off or like round up the handles, that's apparently a problem. Like it'll have like these little hollow pockets in it. And so they having a lot of scrap with it, which is another reason why it's so darn expensive because they have to build in the loss from scrap into it.
There's another manufacturer that makes a very similar material to fat carbon. I don't know if they still do or you can, but it's just like expected that manufacturer it's gonna have holes in it. And that's just like if you buy custom scales with it, like just deal with it.
The custom makers who use that material actually buy black super glue, and when they machine or mill the material, they have to backfill with super glue and then sand it smooth in order to fill. You're basically drop filling all those holes like you might with an automotive finish. It's just silly, like the level that you have to go, but it all has to do with the nature of the material when they make it. It has those voids in it, like you talked about.
Yeah,
no real way around it.
I think one of the wildest hand materials I saw that it was great, but the factory absolutely refused to do it. It was there was a lot of these custom shop guys who for machetes and choppers were using horse stall mats. And it was really great. It was shock absorbent. It was durable. But when you go to sand it and shape it, it smells like burnt rubber. And if you ever smell like a rubber band burning, it smells exactly like that. And just no one wants to utilize it because it smells so terrible. But I was trying to get some machetes made in that in El Salvador, but the guys were like, "No, we're not doing this. It's a great material, but no, we're not doing it because it stinks so bad."
Got a good comment here from Rich Cox. Yeah. Rich says, "I've always appreciated you keeping your eye on your posts in the different groups, and if there is a potential issue with an experience in your store, you message immediately and try to get to the bottom of it and try to make it right." That's very true.
Thanks, Rich. And like I said, I mean, I can't fix a problem if I don't know it exists. And, I like negative feedback, not that I go and seek it out, but it's just, like you can't be a leader in the industry without trying to solve every issue. And I should really have a complaint box at work, but I want Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I want to continue the legacy that my dad started. And, with consumers and expectations, you have to have an expectation of excellence as much as the consumer has. And if there's one problem, there's a chance that it could be a recurring problem because, as you guys know, it's, there's usually one guy will say something, but there's 10 other people who may not say anything. And, that's the silent folks that, you may be losing sales on because they're not buying anything. Oh, shout out to the new Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive Silver Bullet. If you scroll back up, yep, those just came in. So GEC Knives actually makes the bottom one, the Silver Bullet. That's a GEC knife made exclusively for us because Smoky Mountain Knife Works actually has the licensing with Remington for the bullet knives. But that's been interesting because last year, Remington wanted to do it. So 2 years ago, we had it and made a great knife with GEC. And then the problem was that with all good things, a big business like Vista, who owns Remington, says, well, we can do it better and we'll do thousands of them. So they took our one knife that we made 1,000 of, did it themselves, called it USA, made 5,000 of them. And of course it didn't do well. And it was not, well, I'm not going to get into it, but it wasn't the GEC quality. And the problem is that it's, think about like gold. If everybody had all the amount of gold that you could have, then it loses its value. The same thing with the bullet knives. You make more of them, they're going to be worth less, and they're not going to be as collectible. So, so they allowed us to do a silver bullet, and that's where this knife came from. So, and I've actually seen the mock-ups for the 2024 bullet knife, which looks awesome. I'm actually more excited about that one than I am about this one, just because it's, I like hawk bills, but I'm not a hawk bill guy, but this knife, I would totally carry this one. So, but yeah, there's some Spyderco. And you can see we've done the custom tenacious ones. We'll throw up some of that custom stuff from time to time.
That's a cool idea.
So yeah, we did it for Halloween. Yeah. We've got, I don't know if we got on our website, but we've got a tenacious in a titanium handle. It's got a giant D on it. So tenacious D. It's somewhere. I know it's in store. I don't know if we put it online or not.
That's a deep cut. You have to have the right buyer for that one.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then that's the new, if you look at those pocket knives down there, the case ones, that's something that we actually help Case make. We call it Sea Dragon, but they've never taken a tenacious. It might be in the sold out. If you keep scrolling down. No. This one. Hey, there's the bronze.
Tom, this one features hemp. It features hemp.
Yeah, it's hemp.
Hemp's legal in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's good for making rope.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's what I use hemp for.
Yeah.
I use it for soap and for, dresses for my daughter and all kinds.
Yeah, believe it or not, we sold a shocking amount of those. Yeah, who knew so many people were into hemp?
Shocking.
But yeah, I don't see it. I'll have to get them to make some more of those up, put them online.
That bronze looks good.
Yeah, I think that's the anodized ones. So, and it's funny when most titanium, as I haven't messed with the slits really, but I think that one's probably the same way. When you touch anodized titanium, it gets a little darker in patches, and to get it to go back, you actually got to put Windex on it to get it to go back to its original sheen.
Blue Windex is the key.
Yep.
Someone asked earlier if you guys have had other exclusives. The answer is yes, absolutely. You guys have had a lot of exclusive knives from a lot of different makers. So there's
that's our new Sea Dragon. So we took case had never burned a bone after it was dyed. So like any of that stuff there, if you see, it's actually been burned. So it gives it more of a different look to the bone, which again, that's more of a slip joint thing, but it really gives it a unique sheen and a look to it.
I would totally rock a PM2 with those scales. If you could figure out how to put that on a PM2, I would totally rock that.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I had dinner with Eric from Glesser from Spyderco, not the SHOT Show, the SHOT Show before last, and I mentioned to him bone, and they don't work with bone, and it's prone to cracking, and anything that's prone to cracking, they're just not crazy about. So, or Tommaso and G-Man. It's funny.
Close. That was very close. Oh, you took the periods out. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. One thing I want to remind everybody of is that we launched it in last fall, but we've got our loyalty program for points and stuff, which actually we tried to get that going 3 years ago. But the problem is that it's easy to put one up on a website for just a website only. But if you've got a catalog and a retail store and a website, trying to get a custom wrote platform for a loyalty program across all 3 platforms is insanely hard. So
I know a little bit about that, but you're not kidding. That's insanely hard.
Yeah. So
you need infrastructure that's deep in your system, and you probably don't have, like, when you bought the infrastructure for your business, you didn't anticipate ever needing that, so it wasn't possible to add it.
Yeah.
So somebody had to figure out how to make that work. It's
all custom wrote. And then the problem is that, a lot of retailers like me, I mean, I'm not a computer programmer. I went to school for international business and marketing. I'm not a programmer guy, but all I could do is, it's so frustrating as a business owner because you know what you need, but you can't program it yourself. So it's like, all I can say is like, hey, do this, or hey, program it, or program faster. I mean, I can only do so much. So it's really frustrating that, like when a technical issue pops up, or, you get a computer issue or computer glitch or something computer related. And then it's like, not all the time, but like sometimes you'll see a post of like, oh, Smoky Mountain Knife Works website did XYZ. That's not how businesses should operate. They're the worst ever. And it's like, man, I'm a knife guy. I'm not a programmer, But there is stuff that you can help. Some stuff you can't help. I think we were talking about earlier, like Blood HQ a year and a half ago, they had that big security breach where someone hacked them, stole a bunch of people's info and credit card info. And not that I am, the first one to go rushing to the defense of, one of my competitors. At the end of the day, I mean, it could easily be me next. But I was like, I made the comment in a couple of forums. I said, look, hey, I'm not the first one to go defending these guys, but, as CEO of Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I just want everyone to realize this could happen to anybody, and I'm sure they had measures in place, and like we've got measures in place, but these people are hackers. It's kind of the thing they do. And, it could happen to anybody, but,
it happens to Fortune 20 companies.
Yeah.
So it can certainly happen to a knife store. Like,
yeah,
Home Depot's had it happen. Target's had it happen. Major banks have had it happen.
Yeah.
So people are broken into Citibank. They've broken into Wells Fargo. They've broken into, these massive companies, and it's not necessarily the company's fault. They probably had all the safeguards that they could reasonably assume they needed, and it just may not be enough.
When I worked at a construction company, it's been 2 years now, but I sat next to the 3 IT people whose full-time job was to shut down people trying to hack into our construction company system and steal emails. Because in construction, what you can do is you can like clone an email, and then you can email like an owner that owes you like several $1 million and tell them to wire it to a different bank account. That happened when I was there with like a $300,000 check. A hacker broke in, said, "Oh, our wire transfer numbers changed," and the owner sent like hundreds of thousands of dollars to the wrong account. And yeah, people don't realize it, but even a small business, like I worked for a big general contractor, but not huge, and that kind of stuff's happening. It happens to everyone, and if you don't have measures in place, then it's pretty easy to get tricked.
Yeah, and so this is. I'm pretty hands-on when it comes to where we send money out and where it goes to. So, like for example, I every single check that leaves Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I personally sign it. It's not ACH. Well, we do some ACH, but it's not without me physically giving them the code. Anytime we send a wire transfer, it's my bank calling me and I'm giving them the code. But every single check that leaves Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I have seen the invoice. I know what it's for. I have authorized the check to be printed, and then I physically sign it because to your point, Tom, stuff like that can happen. And, we had a guy that was our COO, years ago, and, you think you know people, and then, I basically, caught him, fudging the books and getting kickbacks and stuff like that. So, and then the funny thing was he tried to get me fired, which didn't, which I found out, which I had already figured out what had happened. And I went and told Dad, I'm like, hey, guess who's keeping 2 sets of books? Here you go. Here's the evidence. And he was like, Tyler Pipes needs to go work someplace else where he's not Tyler Pipes. And he was like, oh, well, it's funny you should mention that because here's these right here where you're getting kickbacks. So I think you're going to be fired now. So, but anyway, so I guess that's just, that's what we do to kind of help prevent that. But again, I think that's the biggest frustration for being a business owner in the knife industry is that, you're so competitive online and there's so many things that's outside your control with technical glitches, with websites going down. I think everyone who's ever had a Spyderco drop has experienced, our website got overloaded, too many people, shopping cart got full. Everyone has done that, but it always somehow comes back negatively on the business. And, it's like, hey, we're knife guys too. We just want to sell knives. But yeah, that's the thing that bothers me the most is just the technical stuff that's outside your control that can just completely ruin your reputation.
People expect you to have Amazon server speeds for
one
day a year that you need it, like for a drop.
Yeah. But
hey, Tyler, we got a request from a local guy. He says, please keep a couple exclusives in store to touch and see, not just at the warehouse in Dandridge.
Yeah. Well, we do. So anytime we drop an exclusive, there's usually like the last Spyderco exclusive, we left 50 in our 50 at the store that was in a warehouse that was not committable online. So you can only get those in store, but we didn't put them out until the store opened. But we do usually try to do that. And we keep the bulk of our stuff in Dandridge. And that, I guess that's another thing too, I should mention that, makes Smoky Mountain Knife Works different is that we are the warehouse. There's a lot of companies, I won't name names, but I'm sure people can figure out who they are. And people wonder why they're so slow to ship. Well, it's because there's a data feed from a distributor or two that when you buy your knife, they send an order to a distributor, then they got to wait for that distributor to send the knife from them to that dealer, and then they ship it out to you. But we are the warehouse. We have and it's a 100,000 square foot building in a town called Dandridge, Tennessee. It's 15 miles away from the store, and it looks like, I try to tell people, what's that scene in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark? Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it's that last ark. Yeah. Where's the ark? And it's like it's being examined by top men, and they go to that warehouse. There's just nothing but rows of boxes, rows and rows and rows. That's exactly what it looks like because it's just rows of boxes. So, but that's we warehouse all of our own inventory. We don't deal with drop shippers, and we usually get an order out within 24 hours, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer because our showroom inventory and our warehouse inventory, we're able to pull from both locations. So like custom knives, for example, those are, there's not very many of those. There's usually only one of them. And so if someone wants to buy that online, well, then we got to pay someone to pull it from the showroom in Sevierville, pack it up, put it on our truck, which runs twice a day, over to our warehouse, gets it over there, then it gets put together with another, whatever else was on that order, then gets shipped out from Danvers. Usually we can do that within a day. But that's why we're typically faster than some of the other folks.
Yeah, guys, if you're on a website and you see that the knife is in stock, and it will say in stock, but it might say available to ship within 48 hours. What that means is they don't have it. They do not have it in their office. It's not in their house. It's not on a shelf. It's across the street or down the street at a different company's warehouse. And what they're going to do is they're going to get them to ship it instead of shipping it out of their own business. And they don't buy it until you buy it. So you buy it, it triggers them buying it, and then they ship it. And the problem with that is well, you might pay for that knife, and then 3 days later you find out that it's not available, or they ran out and their inventory count was wrong. And all of a sudden you get a refund after 8 days and it says, sorry, can't help you. That's why that happens. It's because they're using it's called drop shipping. They're using a drop shipper to supply that order. It's not all that different from Amazon or from Home Depot. I order a lot of stuff from HomeDepot.com, and when I look for it, I want to see that it's in stock. I don't want to see that it ships within 48 hours. That means nobody has it. So something to think about when you're ordering knives.
It's great to to do that, but at the end of the day, you're running the risk of, upsetting a lot of customers because you may or may not have that. But
it's a cost-cutting measure that increases the risk to the consumer. So you guys with the wallets that are buying stuff, you need to know that. You need to be thoughtful about that. Maybe you go over to Smoky Mountain instead, buy it over there because they probably have it. Yeah,
but I will say this too. Go to even if you don't buy from me. Go whatever knife you're looking for, whether it's like Essie knives, for example. That's a really good example. There's so much counterfeit Essies on Amazon right now. People get burned all the time. Even Spyderco, to an extent, there's a lot of fake Spydercos on there. And go to the manufacturer's website, like Spyderco. Look at authorized dealers. Only buy from authorized dealers because you can and will get burned. But whether you buy from me or buy from somebody else, just try to buy from someone that supports the industry, because this industry, it's big enough for everybody. We may all get competitive about, obviously I want people to buy from us more than anybody else, but at the same time too, it's such a huge industry that, there's room enough for everybody. But just make sure that, if you want to be in the industry, you want to support the industry, think about buying from someone who this is their main industry, and do things to support the industry and then give back too. A couple of things that we do to give back, like we've got some knives right now. I think there's some on our website. Like for example, there's, we have some custom Swiss Army knives that are autism awareness knives, and we're giving, 25% of the proceeds for that go to, there's one school in all East Tennessee specifically for kids with autism. It's called the Peer Academy. I'm actually on the board of directors for it because they're, it's a good school. It's a good organization. They needed some help and I offered. But it's a good organization to be a part of, and we try to give back to the community where we can. And then another thing my dad did a while ago, actually it was back, it's probably 15, 20 years ago, was actually Smoky Mountain Knife Works built a baseball complex called the Field of Dreams. You can go and look it up. It's in Dandridge, and there's 4 baseball fields, a football field, a walking track, a playground, a basketball court, and it's all for youth sports because the town of Dandridge didn't have anything. My dad being, just a typical dad, he wanted to coach me in Little League, so there was only like one dirt field in the entire county. And so he was like, well, man, let's get together and let's do some stuff and let's figure out a way to do it. So there's one of the fields is Case Zippo Field because Case donated the money to do it. There's what is it? He got some of the people to donate the land to it, named it after the guy's wife, so it's called Grace Schrader Park. But there's I forget all the other brands. So like there's Case, there's Zippo, there's Frost Cutlery has one of the fields. It's got their name on it, but we try to give back and support the community. So think about that whenever you're making purchasing decisions, whether you buy from us or someone else, but make sure that it's someone that, supports the knife industry, knife communities, and that gives back. But always check, if you're looking at a brand, whether it's Spyderco, Columbia River, Essie, at least before, if you ever got some questions about, is this a legit site or not, just go check the manufacturer's website for a list of dealers. So,
yes.
If you're real smart, just buy from a dealer who's in the group, because that way when you have a complaint, you don't only get to complain to customer service, you get to complain right to Tyler, and he's going to come on there and he's going to fix all your problems, and it'll be great. There's many dealers in the group. Tyler is a very active one of them, and definitely go to group dealers where I know who to talk to when I have a problem.
Hey, Randy, that's awesome.
Yep, Randy's been there. That's pretty cool. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up, but before we go, there's one more thing we should talk about.
Yep.
You guys have another business down the way.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Smoky Mountain Knife Works. You have a new business called Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo.
Yes, that's sort of my hobby gone crazy. So in 2013, when my dad promoted me up to COO, he challenged me to, like I said before, to grow the business. And I told him, I was like, well, analyzing our products and our product categories, there's two things that knife guys love that we don't carry. It's guns and ammo. And I'd always kind of been like a casual hunter. I'm not really a tactical guy, but hey, yeah, there's that TC guy. But and I told him, we need to start selling guns and ammo. And we start off with ammo because you didn't have to have an FFL to sell ammo. You just had to buy a 10-cent tax stamp from the state of Tennessee put on every box of ammo, which now you don't have to do anymore. But basically, we started selling ammo. We're selling a ton of it, and then I told Dad, I was like, hey, we need to start selling guns, and he just absolutely didn't want to do it just because he didn't. There's lots of rules and regulations. You got to deal with the ATF and stuff, and so like typical father-son thing, we went back and forth arguing for 2 weeks, and then finally he just said, all right, put up or shut up. I'll lease you some space inside Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and you can go get a loan for everything you own and be broke like the rest of us business owners. And so I went home that night and talked to my wife, and we put everything that we ever owned, cars, house, socks, you name it, up for a loan. And I got a really small loan from Home Federal Bank, which was basically, it was only like a 5-figure loan. It was not big at all for everything I'd ever owned, and started Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo, and it absolutely blew up, and not only in the retail store, but even more so online. And a lot of people don't realize you can go and buy firearms online. We don't ship a firearm to your house, and no one will ship a firearm to your house. What we do is that you tell us where you live and who's your local gun shop. And what we do is you go, you buy a firearm, you go through the regular checkout process, and you select the gun you want. And then after you enter your credit card info, we have an FFL finder on our website. So it takes your zip code. It'll pop up 5 federal firearms dealers within your area. You click on the one you want to go to. After you complete your purchase, we contact that gun dealer. We say, hey, I need a copy of your FFL. They send us a copy of their firearms license. We log the firearm out of our books. We ship it to that gun dealer, and that gun dealer gets it. They contact the buyer. They come in. That's where they do the background check. Every firearm that we sell gets a background check 100% of the time. But there's a big business for that because there's a lot of gun shops that they may only be a one gun shop town, and so therefore they can jack the prices up. So we started, in the gun business, and it's not an easy business. And you think the margins in knives at 25 to 30 points are bad. You should get in the gun business where it's 7 to 10 points, and it's just anyway. It's a whole other business model, but yeah, I never meant for it to be what it is, and now we. Last year, I opened up a second store. So there's a 40,000 square foot retail store in Knoxville, and it's done really well. And it was pretty cool. We had Glenn Jacobs, who is the mayor of Knox County. He's also the famous wrestler Kane, if any WWE fans that are out there. But he actually was their president and did the opening speech and the ribbon cutting ceremony for us. So I thought that was kind of cool. We had him out there for that. But yeah, no, it's been well. And, thank God for my wife who, loves me and supports all my wild, crazy dreams. So saying, hey, honey, I got this really good idea. Problem is we got to put up everything we've ever owned to start it. But it does make it harder, though, because now I'm juggling two, very large businesses. And that's why, I basically I work 2 jobs every day. So, and it's got its own challenges and rewards. But, I'm fortunate enough where I'm lucky enough I got a good crew where I can, delegate some of that. That's been my hardest thing, is learning how to let go and delegate, because I want to be so hands-on. And I still do little things like I'm in, groups like this one where I can, get in at the grassroots level and, hear what people are talking about. I still like to get out on the showroom floor and talk to customers and really get, put my ear to the ground and see what's going on with products, with the industry. Because, usually like I'm in the back talking strategy, talking, dealing with crap that I don't really want to deal with. Like I spent, I was at trade shows during the day, but then in the evenings I was on conference calls about health insurance, which is totally fun to talk about health insurance. And, because Humana's getting out of the state of Tennessee, so now we're switching to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So talking about all the pros and cons for that. Anyway, so I don't get to deal with the cool knife stuff as often as I'd like to anymore. So
don't you have a CFO? Do you have a CFO to manage that for you?
Do what?
Don't you have a CFO to manage that for you?
No, we don't. No. I am the CFO. So we had one, but 12 years ago, but he got killed in a motorcycle accident. And then I just told Dad, I'm like, well, I can do that. And I sort of kind of kept doing it even after I got promoted to CEO. So which is fine. I've got a really good controller, though. She's got a master's in accounting, and she's a certified CPA, so that helps a lot too. So she does a lot of the putting stuff where it needs to go in our P&L and all that stuff. So she handles that part. I just analyze, the bank relationships, dealing with, where we cut payments to, our line of credit and all that stuff. So
sure.
My problem is I'm, kind of like a knife junkie. It's like a, like a crack addict working at a rehab center. It's like, hey, I finally kicked the stuff, but I got to go back in to, see what else is going on. Maybe there's something new, something different. But no, I love it, man. I love this industry. I love the people in it. I love, like Jason and Tom, like I've told you guys before, I love seeing guys like you all do things like this, because it grows the industry. It gets people excited about it. It gets people talking about the industry. And it jazzes me up knowing that there's people that do Saturday night talk shows about knives. I mean, I love it. And, I can't say how appreciative I am just to even be humbled and honored to ask to participate in this. And, really, thank you guys for what you all do, because really, I mean, it does a lot more for the industry than you guys know. And again, thank you guys for what you do. Absolutely. Keep it up.
Finally, Tom, somebody notices us.
People underestimate, like, people like to use the word, oh, it's all hype. It's all this. Do you know how boring this hobby would be if there was no such thing as hype and excitement and fun and like limited editions and exclusives? All the stuff that people claim to hate. Make this exciting, make it fun, make me want to go and do this stupid show every week.
Yeah.
Like, excitement is important. Like, so you go to other groups that are like, I'm into other hobbies. I go to an RC car group. I don't want to play with my RC car when I'm done. Like, I'm just like, this is gross. These people suck. I don't want anything to do with these people. And then you can come in our group and have a little family and have fun. And not only do you get to enjoy your knife, it makes it that much better because you get to share excitement.
I love firearms, but I'll spend no time in a firearms group. It's a bunch of blowhards, and they're all angry, and they all hate each other, and they just fight, and they're mean, and you can't get any good information. I don't understand.
1911 versus Glock. Let's go. Come on.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you get a Glock versus SIG argument going, and everybody just starts. They're monkeys throwing poo at each other. You got to get it out of there. So, I'm grateful to have a group where we can talk about this stuff and we can have fun and we can enjoy the hobby, and we're all good to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
apologies for the cat interruption. Or the kitten interruption earlier. I was trying to concentrate at the first of it, but I kept seeing this paw underneath the door. So I was, I went and tried to block the door, and then anyway. So sorry if I was distracted a little bit there at first.
Not at all. No problem. A huge knife store owner comes to talk to us, lowly people. It's awesome. It is awesome, Derek. It is awesome. Tyler, thanks for being here. I'm glad you could come on. We've been chasing you for a while, and I'm glad we could spend the time. I know you're busy
absolutely.
person.
And again, I just want to say, thank you guys for what you do, because really, and I truly mean it. Like, because I'm a big knife junkie and stuff too. It's like I love popping in to and listening, and sometimes I'll comment, but more and more I'll just listen to what you guys have got to say. But I can't say thank you enough for doing what you guys do for the industry, because stuff like this, it does grow the business. It grows the industry, and it gets more people into it and excited about it. And it creates that sense of community, which is the best thing about your group versus other groups. Jason, like you told me, you turn more people away than you do let them in, because you don't need those negative people. But you get a good group like you guys have got of positive people who are talking positive and helping bringing each other up. I think what was it, like Tony Kim?
Yeah.
Was it him? That instance of, he was just asking a question about a shirt, and then everyone went nuts. And it's just like, that's the thing, we all talk about knives a lot, but sometimes, we want a second opinion on something, and, crap like that pissed me off, because, that guy was just, trying to be price conscientious at Christmas, so he could buy more stuff for his daughter, and some guy was razzing him with a fake account. I mean, come on. But anyway, but sorry to go off on a rant there, but no, no, you guys, you foster a really good part of the community, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
It's we do get told, yes, our group is great and we created a great culture. We set it up, and it's people like you, and it's people like Tony Kim, and it's people like moderators and everyone else that they realize, this is my home. And if you disrespect my home, you don't get to be here anymore. And so I but every once in a while, we need that drama. We need that post to go sideways to set an example. Like, that shit's not okay here.
I enjoy enforcing it. I threw a guy out today that just joined yesterday. He only joined to call out another guy in the community, to call him a piece of garbage because he was driving a hard bargain. And so he decided to light him up about driving a hard bargain on a price for a used knife. And
first day on the internet.
First day on the internet. And I was gonna let him go until I read that he started using not very nice language with another member of the group that I've known for several years. And he called him a bad word. And I decided, I don't need you here. Like
Yeah.
we have 18,900. I think it's 18,900 members.
That's
I don't
awesome.
need a dipshit that just joined today and he thinks he owns the place. Like, get out of here. We were all here first and we all like each other. Just because you're beefing doesn't mean I have to let you in. So toss them out. 80% of the people that apply now we're blocking. We're not letting them in. 80%. It's not, I'm not exaggerating. It's because we don't trust that they're real people. There's a lot of fake people that are creating fake accounts and they're trying to scam people or get over, or it's a clone account. And we're just not going to let him in. So unless we know that this person's legit, sorry, go to the there's plenty of other groups you can hang out in where they don't seem to care about that.
Yeah. There's some groups. Was it the knives group? It's all, guys in Pakistan selling Damascus knives.
When people apply to the group, it used to just be, you could see like there's some stats, basic stuff about that person. One of them is groups in common. And you can always click on that and it'd be like, you can kind of tell if it's a real person or not. But now you can see all the other groups that they're in. And I'll click on that and it'll just be like a group called Knives, EDC, Knife EDC. It's just like all these groups they're not real groups. They're just a bunch of scammers that are with the most generic name possible. And they created a group and that's where they all kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up, kids. We'll call it a night. I know I'm wiped out. I went 2 nights in a row with about 4 hours sleep, and I'm worn out. So
that's what you get for driving so much.
I know it. Burning the midnight oil.
Hey, Jason,
sir,
buy an AirTag and put it in your bag, please.
Already did.
Okay, good.
Yeah. On the drive back to the office, I bought it.
Well, again, guys, thank you for everything y'all do to support the industry. And again, anything that me or Smoky Mountain Knifers can do to help you guys keep doing what you guys do, just let me know.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thanks for being a part of the group.
All right. See you guys. Have a good evening. See you, everybody.